want to go back to the battle. It raged. It started about 1 o'clock, and I didn't leave till about 3:30. And the obvious thing was that we had to pull back to where there was a berm about this high, an irrigation ditch, and that was the objective, was to get back there, so we had some kind of protection or coverage. And it was no easy thing, because if you raise your head up, I mean, my chin was on the deck. I mean, it was like this, and you're trying to shoot your weapon and all these things. So, and the ones who were wounded couldn't move very well, and the ones who were dead obviously weren't going to move. So there's a lot of bodies just scattered out all over the battlefield. But some of them finally managed to get back behind the dike. My radio operator, DeJesus, because that was our lifeline, with me talking to my boss, who could bring in all the big heavy stuff with his fire support team. He said, I asked him, I said, DJ, he was just to my right. I said, and I was kind of pulling back a little bit, and he wasn't. And I was back about his ankles, I guess, or knees. I said, DJ, come on back. He said, sir, I can't come back. I said, well, are you wounded? And he said, well, yeah, I can. I said, well, how bad are you? He said, well, I can get back. I said, it's my radio. His job was to provide that radio for me. He said, I can't come back and pull the radio too. I'm shot at arm or something like that. He couldn't pull it with him or something. I said, DeJesus, I said, you take that radio and put it in front of you and use it as a shield. Yeah. And you start coming back, which he did. And we finally got back behind the berm. And actually, before we got behind the berm, we're still laying there on the rice paddy, and from the platoon on my right, all of a sudden this shadow appeared above me, and I'm kind of like looking up. What in the world are you doing here? It was a medic, Doc Jones, and Jones is kind of on his knees, kind of hunkered over, obviously trying to keep down the best he could. I said, Doc, you get down, you're going to get shot. And he would. It's amazing he didn't get shot. He said, well, Lieutenant, you're wounded. I said, well, I'm okay, I'll make it. But we argued back and forth. And I said, Jones, a doctor, a medic is more important after the battle than he is almost in the battle. I mean, you have to be careful. You don't want to lose all your medics in the battle because you don't have none to treat the wounded. So anyway, I'm saying, Jones, you go back to where you came from. You go back there, because there's not much we can do right up here right now without you getting killed. And he said, no, sir, I'm gonna fix you up. I said, Jones, don't do anything for me. You go over and you take care of this. If you're gonna do something, if you're that foolish, you go over and help these guys. Here he went, body to body to body. And I don't know what kept me. He never got shot. But anyway, so I got shot in the hand in the beginning part of it, and somewhere along the line, as far as wounds, your steel pot's got a little bit of a lip to it like this, and the bullet went through that lip and it creased my temple. It just creased my temple, peeled back. Didn't touch a bone, but it sure laid back the skin. And it just blood just gushing all down my side of my face. And then somewhere along the line, I'm like this on the deck there, and I got shot right in the shoulder. It went in here and came out the back. And then I had a large caliber machine gun that it hit the top of my helmet and ricocheted off, and it just ripped a big hole in it. Had it not ricocheted off, it would have hit me right in the head, because my head from here up is the target, is what could be seen. And so I was hit twice in the head. Once actually touched my body, and then I'm toward the end of the last wound I got was to my right flank was a machine gunner, and the way they teach us and the enemy both to shoot a machine gun is because you can shoot a lot of rounds real quick if you just pull the trigger and hold it. You shoot at what's called a burst of 6. You go drrr, and you look and see where you shoot. You try to aim short of the target, and the bullet goes up, and you see the dirt where the dirt flies up. Then there's the dirt, and there's the target. So you just kind of walk it into the target. You're on the line. But if you shoot over it, you'll never see the marking. You won't know so you always shoot short. And okay, so the bullets, the ricochet, start whizzing over my head, and I know what's going on. I look down, I can see the little dirt popping up in front of me. So then here comes the second burst of 6, and it's a little bit closer. And again, it's getting, the ricochets are coming closer to me. And the third time he did it, it's a wonder it didn't hit me then, but he didn't. And I knew when he pulled that trigger the fourth time that I was going to die. Wasn't any doubt in my mind. That fourth, he had got me so tuned in on his firing that there's no way he's going to miss me. And for the only time in my life, I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. And here comes the burst, and it rips a big old gash in my butt. He missed me. And of course, doing everything I could to subdue him, and everybody else was shooting at him too. But for some reason he never shot again. I don't know whether
somebody must have taken it.
Must have, but it just cut my skin just right open like that. Yeah. So, but then once I got behind the little berm there, which I guess took 15 minutes maybe. I'm there without a radio. I'm helpless. I can't do any. My boss is behind me, and he can see a little bit, but he can't see what I see. And so, like the medic, Jones, here comes this guy with the radio. Now, he was a little bit safer there because we had a little dike about this high to get behind. And I don't know who he was. I regret never getting who he was, but he comes to me with a radio and hands me the little handset. Said the boss wants to talk to you. So I start adjusting fires through the radio, and it was unbelievable firepower. We had Army aviation attack helicopters. They were lined up wanting to shoot. They were just out there circling, wanting to come in and shoot. They're just constant, on the target. We had the Air Force Phantoms came in, and of course you'd have to stop this shooting to do this shooting. And so they would come in, the Sky Raiders, the A-10s, which I'm pretty sure were Vietnamese pilots. They came in, they were the most effective, the A-10s, as far as air demolition. And then I say A-10, I said that wrong. The Skyhawk, whatever the Skyhawk is, a big World War II wing loaded with ammunition. It's the A-10 that was later created to fight with the troops that the Air Force uses now. And you may not be familiar with that, but anyway, the A-10 is the absolute greatest aircraft ever made for infantrymen. But it was a Skyhawk. But anyway, so they came in. We had our own artillery, 102s, or actually 102s. We had some 155 howitzers that fired. We had some 8-inch. We had 175s available, but the minimum range was too short. They couldn't fire. But the 8-inch fired. We had Naval Gun Sport off the coast, and they're all wanting a piece of this action. And I'm sitting here directing all these fires, you know, and it's just like it's unreal almost to know the awesome firepower that was coming on top of those people who killed 8 of my guys.
So you were able to communicate enough with them to where they came in and saved you all then?
Yes, they did, and because, and of course they would not only shoot on the target right in front of me, they were shooting it around, surrounding it too, for any kind of effort to escape. And I wasn't there when it was over with, but there had to be a lot of legs and bodies, parts scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
Had to be. I mean, this is too much was put on the ground.
Your insurance.
I have the letter that I sent them, in which that article came out of that you read. I was taken that night to the aid station there at the base, and then given triage. And then the next day, I was flown by helicopter to Vung Tau Hospital down there, and I was there. I believe it was the 3rd day after my wounds that they started to do surgery on me. And I remember the nurse asking me, do I want, at this point no one knew anything. So the nurse asked me, did I want to send a letter home now, or I wouldn't send it, but did we want the government to send a notice to my parents that I've been wounded? And I asked her, I said, am I going to die? She said, well, don't think so. I said, then no. So then I went through surgery, and I guess it was about the 5th day, 4th or 5th day after the battle, that I sat down and I wrote, the letter home, describing what had happened. And I tried to avoid any real details, you know, but it was just the least said was probably better. I was staying in the hospital there, the 36th evac hospital at Vung Tau, for several weeks, and I was in a bay, and the doctor would come by and check me, you know. And one day he came by and said, Lieutenant, said, you need to get up and move around a little bit. You need to get out of bed. And I said, well, I would like to do that. I said, I've never been here before, and I don't have a gun. I mean, I don't know where to go and what to do. He said, well, we got several things you can do. He says, we got a beach. I said, well, I don't like the beach. I don't care much about the beach. He named 2 or 3 different things of interest that I could go do by getting out of bed, and which I desperately needed. He said, finally said, when do we have a theater, a movie theater? And I said, well, okay, I'm not much on movies. He says, but it's air conditioned. I said, sign me up. So anyway, long story short, I go to the theater, and sure enough, it's air conditioned. Wasn't a very big place, and wasn't hardly anybody in there. Had seats, and so the first thing comes on is the sports newsreel. And being a big Tennessee football fan, I didn't know this, but Tennessee was playing, I think it was in the Orange Bowl. So they're going quarter by quarter by quarter, talking about this football game. And the first quarter, second quarter, Tennessee, I think it might have been Oklahoma. I don't know who it was. But they just whomped them bad. I mean, Tennessee was just up 2 or 3 touchdowns. And I'm feeling really good. You know, it's the first time in a long time I had any kind of a upbeat. And in second half, Oklahoma came back and beat us. Well, that was real depressing. All the air went out of my body, and I'm thinking, you know, this is just really disgusting to get built up like that, and the Volunteers get beat, and they had the game won. But anyway.
You missed a long field goal at the end.
Was that what it was? So I said, well, sure, the movie's going to be better. Okay, I'm going to like the movie. I'm going to get over this football thing. And sure enough, it was a great movie. Had some banjo music in it, and little old cars in it, and it just was a bouncy, fun, exciting thing until the last scene. It was Bonnie and Clyde, and they're going like this, and I'm going underneath it. I had no gun, I had no weapon. They just had to petrify me. But that's the last time I've ever been, distraught over that happening.
Right.
But that took care of it for me right there. But anyway, so I'm just rambling around hoping.
No, that's fine.